So there are many things that people think they know about money, and actually they got these things through educational platforms and stuff. But that has been some sort of misinformation, and it is supposed to ensure that people do not understand or get the real thing. You need to understand that finance is a power tool, and it's a tool to exercise power, retain power, control power, distribute as the case may be. And one of the things you get to know about anyone who has power is something that is quite difficult to let go of. Not everyone has that sense of integrity and character to be able to have power and then share that power. Now, that being said, um, the first thing you need to know if you're in the misinformed school is for you to believe or for you to subscribe to certain systems, or for you to, by your actions and thoughts and thinking patterns, believe that money is something to have, that when you have money, your problems are done. When you have money, your prayers are answered. When you have money, you don't have any problems anymore. Anyone who does believe that, you just need to understand and accept it. Denial is going to even cause more problems for you. You need to accept the fact that you are being misinformed and you're in the wrong class altogether when it comes to finances. Now, money is a power tool. What is a tool? It's just like I have a screw, right? If I want to drive the screw and connect two materials together, I have to get a screwdriver. That screwdriver is a tool. That screw itself is a tool. What the tool ensures is that I'm able to connect two metals together or whatever material it is using that screw and a screwdriver. That is how money is. Now, for a lot of people who are praying and believe that as long as I have money, all my prayers are answered, you're actually praying the wrong kind of prayers. You're actually praying the kind of prayers that will keep you limited for life. Now, in this school of the rich, of the wealthy, of the people who understand that money is a tool, finance is an element of tool. Now, one of the things you really need to understand about money or finance, as it were, is that the goal of finance is two things. And many people have the half truth about what finance really does afford you. And you need to understand it until you come to the point where you really understand how this works. That is when you actually have a fighting chance to live where you are. Now, what am I saying? The goal of finance, what finance affords you, are two empirical things. What I call in the Twain principle. Every major thing in life has a unit of tools. That's what I call the Twain principle. You either have the positive and the negative, the yin and the yang, the cathode and the anode, the plus or the minus, the height and the depth, and what have you. It usually starts in the unit of two. The family has a unit of two, the husband and the wife, and that's what builds the system. Now, when it comes to the gain of finance, one of the things you need to understand is the two ends of finance is one, freedom, and two, power. You will be in a deluded state if you believe that all you're doing with finance is to get what they call financial freedom. You are at a different level. You're not the worst level, but you're not the best level as well. You need finance in order to have freedom. What is freedom? Freedom is the sense of physical mental state where you are not being influenced or controlled excessively by external forces. Meaning that if anything happens externally and you're not satisfied with that, you can make your choice as to how you want things to play. That is financial freedom and financial power. For example, if you are in a country like Nigeria, where the economy continues to go down, you are plagued in that economy if you have no way out. You don't have money to travel out. You don't have savings. You don't even have a passport. That lets you know that you lack freedom and you lack power. So you lack financial freedom, the ability to do anything. If you are working in a place and your boss tells you to do certain things that are against your core and personal values, and you can wake up and say, I quit, and your life does not get worse because now you don't have money flowing in again. If you can quit and you are still able to live the life you've been living while you're at that job, that is financial freedom. And it takes financial power to get financial freedom. When you exercise financial freedom, it's as a result of financial power. And so it's important for you to understand this. And so what is the financial power that I'm talking about? Now, a lot of people understand what financial freedom is, or at least at the surface level. So that's the reason why I want to drive into what financial power is. Now, what exactly is power? Now, power in English is a watered down term. I think I'll prefer to subscribe to the Greek's definition of power. There are 4 different words in the Greek that display what power really is. We have the dunamis, we have the energia, we have ischus, and we have the kratos. Now, how does this relate with financial power? It means we have financial dunamis, financial ischus, financial energia, and financial kratos. It is important for you to know where you're at. The lowest level of financial power is financial dunamis. The highest level of financial power is financial kratos. And so I'm going to explain what this is so that you get to understand it a little bit. Now, when we talk about dunamis, dunamis talks about potential power. It is not yet actualized power. It is an inherent power you have that can be used. But the thing is, a lot of people do not know how to activate their dunamis. A lot of people are moving around, or let me just put it that way. Everybody who is poor currently is someone who has not learned to activate their financial dunamis. And you cannot start the path of power without activating dunamis, because dunamis is that awareness that lets you know what you actually have, and then the wisdom to know how to carry it out. Now, the issue a lot of people have is that they are listening to the story of other people's dunamis, but they are not aware of their own dunamis. So when you see something like, I want to have money like Dangote, you are using Dangote as an inspiration, which is not bad, but you are equating Dangote's financial dunamis as yours, which is wrong. You have to go into yourself to understand who you are, what you have, what you carry, and become aware of your own personal financial dunamis. Because you cannot begin to build your house on someone else's foundation. You must understand what your core foundation is and then begin to build from there. So when we're talking about financial dunamis, it is financial potential, the future value of something. And this gives you hope, but it is not a hope for you to stay and begin to ravish in that hope. It is something to turn your motivation lights on, to give you a sense of urgency that there are things to do as quickly as possible. So, for example, I wrote some things here so that you get to understand. So, financial dunamis also talks about when you are a high potential startup and you have your business plan and it looks like everything is going to succeed. That is potential. A lot of people also have that. Oh, they come from a good house, they have good values, they are quite talented, they are this, they are that, and all of that. Or you seem to have a competitive edge in the workplace. That is financial dunamis. A lot of people are at the state of financial dunamis and they don't know what to do. Now, this is where the next thing I'm going to say is very important. On the path to power, there is horizontal growth and there is vertical growth. Okay. Now, the problem a lot of people have is they believe that horizontal growth will make them increase in financial power, which is wrong. Horizontal growth just allows you to master a certain level of power. And sadly, some people have stayed all their lives in horizontal growth. They've passed on horizontal growth as a generational blessing to their people. They've passed on horizontal growth as the psychology and mentality, to their generation, and you can never thrive on horizontal growth. Now, here is it. The goal is to have that vertical growth in power, vertical growth in finance. But because the concept of power is, as it were, not for the fool-hearted or the simple-hearted, you need, in order to get to the next level of power, you must overcome something, you must win something, or you must negotiate something from it. Going to the next level of power is not a right for anyone on this earth. You'd either have to pass an exam, you'd have to overcome something, and then that's what allows you to grow, and get to the next level. Now, one of the things you need to understand is overcoming is not sure for everyone. It will test your character, it will test your mind, it will test your boldness, it will test your courage, your sagacity, your enduring power, a lot of things. The thing about this exam is it is not the same for everyone. Just the same way we don't all have the same financial dunamis, financial potential, the test that would come at every level will be different for everyone. So you cannot say, oh, this person passed his test by doing this and that, and so I have to learn to do this and that so that I can also pass my test. It doesn't work that way. Your test will come to you, and hopefully you have the wisdom, the endurance, the courage to make it to the next level. And the thing is, you would actually know when you get to the next financial level. Things around you begin to change. Your mentality, your language, your association, your attitude towards work begins to change. Now, the next level from financial dunamis is financial energia. Now, energia talks about energy, power in motion. Now, when we bring it to finance, financial energia is what we call cash flow. Financial energia is what we call active income. So if you are a 9 to 5 and every month you're sure that something comes in, that is iskus. That means you've been able to deploy your financial potential, your financial dunamis, into something that generates consistent flow for you. So maybe you're an entrepreneur and every month there's something coming in for you. Then you know that you have iskus already. Now, at this point, you also need to understand that the place where iskus also begins to grow in that horizontal path is your returns on investment, on things like dividends. The goal is anything that brings money to you, okay? Any instrument that allows money to know your address. It is iskus that makes that possible. For the poor, what they don't know, sadly, is that money does not know their address. They might be doing a lot of things, they might be working and struggling and hustling, but if money does not know your address, money cannot come to you. So iskus is that address bar that you can write www.moneyfindme.com, and then it activates a GPS, a location receiver that allows money to know you exist, to become aware of your existence, and to begin to flow in your direction. So it is iskus that makes that possible. When you have a job, when you have a product you're selling, and it is something that you can make consistent, so that is energia. Now, some people stay all their life in energia. They retire on energia. So they've been working for 20 years in a place, and they only have pensions to prove for it. They only have savings to prove for it. That is energia. There are actually some people who believe that financial freedom is a function of the amount of money you have. No. Those are people who still believe that the end goal is money. But like I mentioned, the end goal is freedom and power. So energia is the next level. Yes, but that is not where you should stay. Especially when we are having issues like inflation going higher, and we're having issues like the economic rapture coming, we are having issues like the economic scourge. You cannot afford to be at the energia level, because even though the energia brings money your way, it is still a weak force that any strong force can turn in a way. So strong force could be people losing their job. Strong force could be a disruption in the market, like AI coming in now and taking the jobs of a lot of people. So that is their energia has moved. So money knew their address before, but something else has attracted the sense of money, and money has left that address and gone to something else. So that is why, even though Energia is the starting point, you are not supposed to live your whole life on Energia. You need to work on Energia to a point until you pass the next exam, the next stage, the next battle that now moves you to the next level of financial power. Now, the next level of financial power after Energia is Iskus. Now, we've talked about Dunamis, which is the potential power. We've talked about Energia, which is the cash flow, the money in motion, money finding your address. Now, Iskus is what we call stamina. It's what we call financial strength. It's what we call financial capacity. Okay. Now, there are many people who don't, certain investment opportunities come, or maybe they're working a 9 to 5 and then maybe they're earning 300,000 per month and they've been doing it for a year. Obviously, if you earn 300,000 per month in 1 year, you only get like 3.6 million. So imagine sometime during the year you hear that there's an opportunity to buy a land which is now very cheap, that I feel you should be able to leverage on. The house is just 5 million naira. It means that with the energia that you have, you cannot meet that opportunity. You do not have the stamina to contend with that opportunity. You don't have the capacity. You don't have what it takes to leverage on that money. So you lose that opportunity. So you know that there's a level of mentality shift that you need to move from a stage of energia to a stage of iskus, to a state of money is flowing in, to a state where you have a bit of control over money. So for those who have been following me for a while, you notice I mentioned something, that we have moved from the season of buying grain to the season of the treasury of grain. Now, buying grain is more like the level of financial energia. You have money and then you can just buy grain. But the next stage we need is the treasury of grain. That requires financial stamina, financial capacity, okay? And so the level of financial issues is when you begin to control money to an extent. Money does not necessarily control you, as it were. So some of the things that people who are at the stage of financial issues have are things like capital reserve. They are thinking in terms of reserve now. They're not thinking in terms of savings or investment. They are thinking in terms of reserve, capital reserve. They're thinking in terms of liquidity, because everything is the leverage to meet opportunities, to maximize opportunities when they come. Issues is also a function of your net worth. What is your net worth? And you know that you can't really begin to calculate your net worth if you don't have assets. If all you have is a 9 to 5, that's not a sure way of having a network. You must have assets, you must have investments, returns on investments, before you can even begin to refer to yourself as someone who is calculating your net worth. One of the reasons why issues is also important is that in the time of financial crisis, in the time of financial drought, in the time of financial scourge, issues is what you need that will make you thrive. Issues is what you need that will make you navigate through that season. So when famine was coming to Egypt, Joseph created a system in issues by creating silos to store the grain. And so they had a treasury of grain. And then when famine struck, people could buy with money the grains that have been stored. Okay. So when tough times come, you would have something to liquidate, you would have something to trade in order to still stay afloat. That is the mentality of people that are at the East Coast level. Okay. And so you need to move from financial dunamis, where you're just aware of your skills and talents, to move into financial energia, where you are able to deploy those skills and talent into something employable, something workable that allows money to find your address. Then from there, you now move to financial issues, where you're thinking of treasury or reserve system. And the goal of reserve is not to spend. Before you have reserve, it means that you actually have working capital. You have spending capital. You have money to spend, you have money to save, you have money to invest, then you have money to reserve. You cannot be thinking of money to reserve when you're still struggling with money to earn, to eat. Okay, so you understand that there's a level to this. So it takes a level to have money. It takes a different mentality level to have money and put something aside every month to save. It takes a different mentality to, from what you have put aside, put something else aside for the purpose of investment so that you can get returns. It takes a different mentality to move from return on investment to reserve. So when you get to the level of reserve, you're already thinking at the level of economic finance. Okay, personal economic finance. Now, that is the ISKUS level. One of the ways to also know your level of financial ISKUS is your balance sheet. If you have a strong balance sheet, if you have strong financial stamina, then I would say you are quite good. So one of the ways of starting this is, do you have emergency funds? Okay, do you have a reserve system? Do you have investable capital? All of these are what lets you know how much stamina, financial stamina, that you have. Now, the next level. So in order to get to the next level, it means a test has to come, a challenge, an exam, a crisis that you must solve, win, and overcome before you can go to the next level. Okay, so what is the next level after ISKUS? Some people believe that, okay, when I have ISKUS, when I have reserve, when I have investment, when I have savings, when I have emergency funds, when I have cash flow, when I have money, what else do I need? Isn't that the life? No, it is not. Remember, the goal is not, is it that life? The goal is what? Financial freedom and financial power. Now, the final level of financial power is what we call financial kratos. Kratos. Now, kratos means it means dominion, as a matter of fact. Okay, so when we're talking about financial kratos, what we're talking about is ruling financial power. It's the political power of finance. ISKUS is the economic power of finance. Energia is the personal power of finance. So you need to move from personal power to economic power and then move into political power. Okay, so Kratos is the political power in finance. So for example, where you have market control, they are usually called people who are whales. Okay, whales in the market. These are people that have market control. Your actions can control the market. People like Dangote, people like Elon Musk, people like Jeff Bezos. These people have gotten to the political power level of finance, so they are operating at Kratos. Now, I mentioned here some of the people who have that Kratos level are no longer humans, but like personal individuals, but institutions. Now, the economic power can still be leveraged on with businesses and systems, okay? But it takes institutions to have political power in finance. So the central bank is the grand institution that has the political control of finance. If you also find yourself to be the major investor in an institution, that also gives you political power, because your actions can now have consequences that will shift how well things become at the end. If you also have pricing power, that you have the ability to change the price to your favor, that is Kratos. And you know that before you can get to that level, a lot of things actually have to be done. Now, why is this important? And why do you need to become aware about these things? It's because it's not that we're even going. We've found ourselves in a crisis moment, that the confidence a lot of people have in their financial status is going to be swept away. And that is because a lot of people are still at the dunamis and the energia level. And these are the levels that when challenges come, crises come, they are the first to go. Okay, and so it's important that you begin to learn how to climb upwards. You don't stay at the dunamis level. You don't stay at the energia level. You begin to aim for ISKUS. What are the mentalities, the systems, and the structures that I need to have in mind in order to thrive? What are the tests that I need to pass? What is the exam that I need to pass? What are the wars and the battles that I need to fight and win in order to climb to this next power level? Everything in the real world rises and falls on power. It is those who understand power that controls things. If you do not have power in your life, you will be at the mercy of the powerful. The church is supposed to be God's demonstration of power on the earth. So it is not just supposed to be a religious gathering, it is also supposed to be a political institution. And that's why when Jesus came in the book of Matthew, he kept talking about the kingdom of God, the kingdom of heaven, because the kingdom is not a church. The kingdom is a political system that allows the power of God to influence things upon the earth. So as a believer, you need to understand that you are part of an assembly. You are part of a kingdom. You are part of a political structure in order to allow God's influences to move in finance, in economy, in businesses, in whatever it is. So you need to begin to grow. There are lots of things happening. Inflation is coming, policies, we're having wars and rumors of war, and all of this will begin to sweep the people that are at the lower levels of power. It is people that are at the higher levels that will be able to thrive and grow. And for example, this is one of the things we do at the LAMAD Africa community. So it's not just about savings and investment. There are power levels we need to get into. There are financial power levels, and we need to access. This is what we do in range. The range is just to give you that awareness, that consciousness, the intelligence to begin to restructure and reorientate your life, repositioning your life to be able to climb up. So how do you put all of these things together? So I wrote here that the goal of a financial advisor, or a financial community, or a financial system is to help people to access their issues, that's their net worth, to activate their dynamis, take them away from that thinking, dreaming level to activation, manage their energia, their cash flow, and then build their creators, their financial political systems. Okay, and so this is the path that we need to take, and I cannot tell you enough. It almost seems like I have the responsibility of a herald to tell you of things to come and how you're supposed to prepare yourself for the things to come. There are lots of things that will shake the financial state of things, and you need to understand this. The political systems will shift first before the financial system. The financial system is the last system to shift. For those, so this is it. The business personal level is the first, the business level is the next, the political level is the next, and then financial level. You need to understand that financial power is actually higher than political power. You need to understand that. Okay, and so finance is not about money. I'm sure you understand what finance is all about. Finance is about the system of distribution, growth, multiplication of resources. Money is a part of resources. People are resources. Time is resource. Okay, so you understand that finance actually has, and that's why politics is actually under finance. And so you need to understand this, that even though it appears in a democratic system that political systems are the most powerful systems, I need you to understand that financial systems are actually the most powerful systems. All right. So I'm going to leave you with that information. If you've got questions, please, you can always ask questions. I'll be more than happy to respond in ways that I can. But more than this is for you to take a look at your life, have a honest evaluation of your life, know where you are at, and know what the next level is, and begin to pray, begin to learn, study, layers and leverage on relationships, mentorship, coaching. And I would say this. One of the things that took me from that energia level to that East Coast level was coaching in 2023. Coaching changed my life. I remember that was the first time I paid 6 figures for a coaching session. And what the coaching did for me was exposure, was network. It gave me access into certain networks that I would never have had access to. That is East Coast. Okay? And so you need to begin to think of the bigger game. Darkness is coming. The storms are coming. The flood is coming. The scourge is coming. Prepare. Okay? All right then, so this is where I'm going to be ending this session. There's a lot for you to ponder upon. You might have to listen to this more than once. I will not guarantee that you got everything at a go. Sometimes you need to settle your mind again and then listen to it. I hope to see you on the other side. The next time you see from me or to I hear from you, God bless.